and the Rabbi. Rabbi Freeman, we've had the last 2 weeks are parshas. They've been too interesting. Last week it was about Balak, right? Mm-hmm. Balak and Bilam. And this week it's about Pinchas.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out the difference of these two things. I was doing a little, I like to do a little studying on my own, as I always do.
Right.
And
major biblical scholar.
I am a biblical scholar.
Major.
So the stuff I got to say, write this stuff down. If you're watching at home, write this stuff down. So I'm reading about Balak. To me, if you want to find what a terrorist is, I'm thinking this guy might be the ultimate terrorist. He's got a problem with the Israelites. He's the Moabite king, right? Mm-hmm. Got a problem with it. He knows they've been beating up everybody else. He wants to make sure he destroys them. So he goes and gets what he thinks is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction.
Right.
I mean, think about this. God, he's going to destroy them. This is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. He gets this guy Bilam, pays him all this money, because this guy Bilam speaks with God. He talks to God. So he brings him on out, and he pays him all this money. He says, I want you to curse Israel.
Right.
And Bilam curses him, and God says, no, it doesn't work. He makes him bless him. He said, well, come over here and do it. And he takes him to like 4 or 5 different locations of their camp. Curse him. Destroy my enemy. Destroy my enemy. And, and he pays all this money in the kingdom. This is all the guy can think of is, you got to kill the Jews. Kill the Jews. Kill the Jews. I've heard it before. That's what he says. Now, compare that to this guy, Pinchas. Mm-hmm. Right after that, that's this week's parsha, right? Pinchas he's an Israelite. He's there, and he hooks up with a Moabite woman, right? She's Moabite.
Not Pinchas.
Oh, my back. I'm sorry. An Israelite hooks up with a Moabite woman.
Midianite
princess. Brings her, and this is happening all over the camp now.
Mm-hmm.
So God puts a plague into the camp. People are dying. Things are horrible. Moses doesn't know what to do. And then the ultimate just bad thing to do, this Israelite takes this princess with a gate. I think his flap of the tent was open and everything, and he's having relations right there in front of the sanctuary. Everybody's looking in and seeing it. So this guy Pinchas, he's like a grandson of Aaron, takes his spear, hurls his spear, pierces both of them together, kills them. Right. And right there the plague ends. Right. Plague ends, God's happy, and he gets promoted. He's like the big guy now. So my question is, I get it with Balak. This guy's a terrorist because here he is. He has power of God in his hands, and all he can think of over and over again, kill the Jews, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. And you think, why did one thought go into his head? How about bless us? Bless my people. Make us great. Make us, the people are starving. They're not good. Help my people. Doesn't even care about his people. Doesn't even care about himself. Just kill the Jews. That's all he can think of. So he's a terrorist. But why, when we get to Pinchas, who takes his spear and for the same religious type thing, kills the enemy, what's the difference between Balak and Pinchas?
Right. And by the way, immediately after Pinchas did that, there was like a wide call for spear control.
Yes, there was
it was like,
it was the fault of the spear.
Because there was all these spears around, that's exactly what happened.
I heard that too. I read that.
Yeah.
The Huffington Post.
Yeah, spear control. Right. So anyway, then those people argued back because actually there was very tight spear control regulations already in the camp. And
anyway, I heard that you could have multiple spear that had multiple spearheads in the spear. You couldn't do that. That was too dangerous.
Yeah. So anyway, there is one little part of the story, by the way, that you missed, and that is when Bilam, the sorcerer who was supposed to curse the people, when he was thwarted and he saw that his curses were not God just wasn't allowing him to curse. And he took all his curses and he turned them into blessings, which was super frustrating to everyone involved. But he said, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's forget about all this cursing stuff. He says to Balak, I'm not going to leave you empty-handed. I've got the best idea. You take all your best-looking Midianite, Moabite girls, send them out there to hang out near the edge of the Israelite camp, and invite the guys over to party.
Things will happen on their own that way.
And sure enough, and they said, you'll see, everything will go great because the guys are going to go out, they're going to go whoring after the Moabite women, and sure enough, and he said, and this Israelite God, he's not going to put up with that. And he's going to make a plague. And sure enough, exactly happened. They went out, they sent the girls out, the guys saw the girls, the guys started running after the girls, God didn't like it, plague breaks out, and that's when everyone's dying. Thousands of people are dying, there's a plague, and the guys are running off after the women. And it gets even worse because they want to go hang all of the guys who got involved with the Moabite women.
Right, right.
So the people went to the head of their tribe, the people of the tribe of Shimon went to the head of their tribe, a guy named Zimri, and they say to Zimri, you got to stick up for us. These are your people here. So Zimri says, I got to stick up for my people. They're absolutely right. So he goes and himself gets a Midianite princess, and he takes her in front of the tent of meeting, like public as can be.
Everybody saw this.
He sets up his own little tent right there, and he takes her into the tent, and he says, I, head of the tribe, am going to consort with her. What are you going to do about it? And he goes into the tent with her. And that was just like the worst. That was just the absolute worst. And then everyone just broke down. They're crying. No one knows what to do. They're pulling their hair out. This is horrible. How are we going to stop it? Even the head of the tribe is doing it.
That's pretty bad.
No law and order. It's pandemonium in the streets.
Consorting going everywhere.
The law of God is just being disregarded. Flagrant disregard. I mean, this would be like, this would literally be like someone saying, you got a law, you think that what I'm doing is illegal? Well, guess what? I'm going to do it on the steps of the Supreme Court. Okay? And they're doing it, and everyone's just like, what should we do now? So Pinchas says, I know what to do now. He says, let's do this. He gets a spear, and he goes and he kills the two of them. Now, why is Pinchas not considered to be a zealot?
That's the question.
I am sure every zealot, we'd call him a terrorist now, but terrorist is a bad word because a terrorist is interested in creating terror. But there's also a reason why the terrorist wants to create terror. I don't believe that anyone wakes up and says, let me go create terror. There might be people who get up in the morning and say, let me create terror in the ranks of policemen because I think policemen are abusing black people. Right. Or let me create terror in the country of France because French people are not accepting Mohammed. Or something to that effect,
Right.
Like you have a reason why you want to create terror. I mean, even righteous causes, everyone's got like the righteous cause, right? When there's really like let's see, the Nazis have invaded the country. Nazis invaded France. So the underground is trying to like blow up Nazi installations and shoot up. Well, they're trying to create terror amongst the occupying forces. So terror isn't necessarily good or bad. Terror now, because they're afraid to say Muslim when they put the name, they don't want afraid to say the word Muslim with the people who are causing the murder and mayhem. Right. So instead they say terror. But terror is actually a neutral word, because if you believe that people need to be terrorized because they're bad people, then terror is okay.
Right.
But terror is a very neutral word, which is why it's really hard to fight a war against it, because it's totally neutral and it doesn't mean anything and you can never get focused on it. But if you want to focus on a group of people who, for example, have a certain religion, and they're all people who ascribe to this religion, and they want to kill other people, so then you have to feel that they are motivated by the fact that other people are not doing their religion. Right. They're making God angry.
Okay.
Right? And I got to get up, like, I can't stand all these, like, revelers in these nightclubs, and I'm going to go shoot them all up. Or I can't stand all these people because they're homosexuals, and that's making my God angry, and I'm going to go shoot them all up, or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm going to punish them, basically.
Right.
I'll show them. And since I know I'm probably going to get killed anyway, when I'm all done, I'll kill myself or something like that. But I'm going to take the law into my own hands because the law isn't doing anything about it. I'm going to do something about it. And they say that they're doing it for God. Now, Pinchas picks up his spear and says he's doing it for God. The Torah totally endorses him. Not only that, God says, I give him the peace prize for doing this. Oh. And God stops the plague and really says, Pinchas, that was a great thing that you did. And these guys are doing this, and we're all thinking, like, someone's got to stop these guys. These guys are bad.
Right.
So really, bottom line, from a religious, theological perspective, which is kind of where I hang out.
That's why we brought him on the board.
Yeah, that's right. You knew we'd get back there once again.
Yep.
So what's the difference between the two? Okay. So catch this little but very, very substantial difference. there is a midrash. The midrash is this oral teachings that we have. It's like a companion volume to the text. We have the story in the text, which is pretty much like I told it.
Right.
There's the midrashic version, which is that Moses, that Pinchas, when he saw what was going on, he went to Moses and he said, well, aren't we supposed to, what's the law here? What are we supposed to do about this? And Moses said, I don't know what to do. And Pinchas said, well, didn't you teach us that if you see this type of thing happening, you attack those people and you take them out? You see it going on, you take them out. And Moses says, well, basically, if that's what I taught you, then, go do it. But like, I'm not telling you to do it, but, if you're telling me, it's so strange. If you're telling me that that's what I said, so then do it. Very strange. I mean, if that's the law, why didn't Moses just tell him, all right, Pinchas, this is the time, somebody's got to do something here.
Good question.
There's a spear, go get him, somebody's got to stand up and do something here, you're my trusted aide or whatever, go do it. But he didn't tell him to do that. As a matter of fact, when Pinchas said to him, what should we do? Moses said, I don't even know what to do. Moses didn't know what to do. So it's really interesting here because this is the Jewish take on zealotry. This is really, really interesting. Zealotry has to be motivated by one's sincere sense of outrage about what's happening to God.
Okay.
Not out of motivation to punish the bad guys, but out of what's happening to God. And what's going on, what's bad, what's happening to God. So this is really, I don't know what the laws are in many states, but in Georgia, guy comes home and finds another man in his house with his wife, so he can pull out his gun and kill the guy, and that's considered to be
I didn't know that.
I forget, there's a terminology for this, but there's a certain justification for being impassioned to that type of crime. Okay? So there is a certain justification. It reduces the it reduces the level of the murder.
You still get prosecuted, but not for
lower level because we recognize that there's a certain outrage there that I guess is considered to be a universal outrage that like any man would. Now, what's the deal? Because the man who sees this happening with his wife feels violated because he has a covenant with his wife, and that's a violation of the covenant.
Gotcha, right.
Right. So when you see something like that going on, number one, in order for it to be an insult to God, it's got to be that the person who's doing it is already covenantally bound to God, and they're breaking the covenant.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's the difference.
Like, if you come home and see a man having relations with someone else's wife in your house, you can't pull out your gun.
You probably want to get him out of there.
You're right.
But you can't kill him.
You cannot pull out a gun on that situation. Right? Because they are not violating your covenant. Now, they might be violating their own covenants with other people, but that's not your covenant. So there's not that sense of outrage. So number one, this is only having to do with people who are in the covenant. So for example, and this is a big difference between Judaism and other religions. You got some guy from another religion, and he's mad, religion A is mad at all these heathens from religion B.
Right. That's totally different.
Right. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to start showing all those guys that they can't do that, and they're wrong, and they're making God angry.
They're not breaking your covenant or their own.
Right. They didn't make a covenant with God. Now you might have a covenant with God that says that you can't eat pork, or you got to do this, you got to do that, but they don't have a covenant like that. So you can't be outraged for God because God's not outraged. They're not breaking the covenant. They didn't take on the covenant. So that's one thing right away. So right away we narrow down. So if other people are doing things that I don't believe in,
right,
I can't act as a zealot on behalf of God because there is no zealotry. They end up breaking the other covenant.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
That part.
That's A. B, they have to be breaking the covenant, not people who broke the covenant. Catch this. Listen to this law, the law of zealotry. We're going to go, let's review the laws of Jewish zealotry. Okay?
I've not studied these, I guess.
Yeah, you got to know the rules. If Pinchas nails Zimri, that was the guy's name, this head of the tribe of Simon. So Pinchas nails Zimri and this girl Cosby that he was
I
together
want to make
with.
sure everybody understands the difference between cohorting and nailing. Where Rabbi is doing different.
When I say nail them, they're cohorting, and Pinchas comes in with the spear and nails the two of them.
Yeah, Ken got
Right.
confused, the camera guy.
Right,
So I'm gonna do
right.
something.
He nailed them. He nailed them, and he got them both on one spear. So you know that they were in proximity,
Very
so that
close.
one spear could get two of them. Right, and not
Shish
only
kebab.
that, the Midrash says that he actually got them the place where the spear
Pretty.
entered was exactly the part of the anatomy that was engaged in the crime.
Yes.
So the two of them. So not only did
And
he
I'll
get them both.
explain that to you later as well.
Not only did he get them both, but he's a pretty good shot.
Yeah, very good.
Because this didn't have a lot of room to
Gotta give him props there.
He's
too. Yeah,
great.
Pretty good.
Right, and he's, by the way, is like from the Cohen family. Although he wasn't a Cohen, but he's from the family. He probably was not like a guy that spent a lot of time at the range, working on
He
throwing the
was doing
spears.
other things, right.
Right. So anyway, so he does this. So they have to be engaged in the act. Let's say Pinchas comes in, he misses.
Right.
He came in and throws the spear and he misses.
Right.
The guy Zimri jumps up, turns around, and kills Pinchas.
Right.
Are we going to prosecute Zimri for killing Pinchas?
That's a good question. I don't know.
No. Absolutely not.
I missed.
Absolutely not. We will not prosecute him because he was just defending himself.
That's true.
Pinchas is trying to kill him.
Right.
Now you said, but Pinchas is a good guy. He's a zealot. He's supposed to kill him. Yeah. But that doesn't give him carte blanche, especially if the guy disengages and he's not doing the act,
Right.
you can't kill him. Let's say the guy disengages, Zimri disengages from Cosby. Now he's not doing the act, and Pinchas comes in and he says, "You rotten bum, look what you just did," and he kills him.
Then that'd be
We're
bad.
going to prosecute Pinchas and we'll hold, he's a murderer.
Because he's not doing the act.
He's a murderer because he's not a zealot anymore. No, he's a murderer because he wasn't doing the act. So it's got to be A, only people that are involved in the covenant and are breaking the covenant. And B, they have to be actively breaking the covenant. Okay? Now, C, and this is the most important of all of them.
I think I know where you're going. here.
This is the most important of all of them. He goes to Moses and he says, "What should we do?" Moses doesn't tell him what to do. You know why? Because you can't tell a zealot. If you tell a zealot what to do, they're not a zealot.
I'm thinking that, wow.
Anytime you tell a zealot what to do, he's not a zealot because a zealot is motivated by his zealotry.
Ah.
If he asks what to do or is instructed what to do, he's not a zealot and now he becomes a murderer.
Wow. Wow.
So therefore, Moses couldn't tell him what to do. Because if Moses told him what to do, then it's as though he'd say, "Well, now I'm carrying out the law." Well, that's not the law. And then he would be punishing the perpetrator, punishing the sinner. And this is not about punishing the sinner. The zealotry is confined only to people who are so motivated that they feel that they got to stick up for God. But if they are told what to do, it's all off. I would say, therefore, there's no zealotry nowadays in our world.
Well, let's add one more thing to it. But let's say Pinchas, well, obviously Moses doesn't tell him to do. He says, "You know what? I'm going to wipe out that whole section over there. Everybody that's associated with him, I'm going to burn down that part of the camp." And in doing so, yes, he does exactly
the
what
bad
he
guys
should do. But he also ends up killing some people in the tent next door, the tent next door to them. But they're part of his tribe.
But no,
Murder or not murder?
Murder.
Okay.
Murderer, and they'll convict him for it, and they'll punish him for it. They'll execute him as a murderer because you can't kill other people. You can only kill the people who are breaking the covenant. And even if the guy says, "I am pro," he's standing up making a demonstration. "I am pro consorting with Midianites." He's saying, "We love Midianites. We love Midianites. Midian, and all that stuff, right?" And he's saying all that stuff. No, only the guy that's actually doing the act. The person who's doing the act has to be covenantally bound not to do the act. And the zealot who's killing him cannot have been inspired by someone else or some instruction or some motivation. It's got to come in.
Call me.
Okay, Jeff.
Got a question. Then what about Cosby? She did not have a covenant to do that act.
Right. But she...
I don't mean Bill. I'm talking about...
Yes, that's right. For a moment...
he had different issues.
Yeah, right. We are not going there.
No.
So that's... But maybe we should do a show on that. But, okay,
different show.
We'll schedule that for late September.
Right.
Okay. So she is guilty also because she is committing the crime with him. She knows that that's not permitted.
Okay.
Right. And she is engaging in she's not breaking the covenant. Right. However, she is getting him to break his covenant.
Okay, so
she is enabling him, or she's actually helping him break his covenant, because without her, nothing's going on.
Well, but then the question would be, as today's zealots would say, well, those beautiful ladies that are walking around half naked in a club are getting me to break my covenant.
Right.
So were the women on the hill that were standing there, would they have been killed, or did it have to be the actual woman that was actually physically breaking that covenant?
So any woman, and as a matter of fact, the follow-up to this story is that after it's all done, this episode, Moses says, okay, we're going to war with Moab.
Right.
Okay, and he specifically says, and Pinchas, you're the guy that's going to lead the war. Right. And he specifically gives him instructions, find all of the women that were involved with the Jewish men, all women that had consorted with Jewish men, done. Kill them, because they committed the crime. Now that's a punishment.
That's a big one.
That is a punishment. That is a punishment because they had committed a crime. But the act of zealotry, you see, this is extrajudicial, what Pinchas is doing. There's no court. There's no procedure. It's not like the court is bringing him in and saying, you have consorted with this woman that you're not allowed to, and therefore we're going to hang you. Okay, that would be judicial. This is extrajudicial. He just picks up a spear and goes and kills him. How can you do that? So that's the point, is the only time you can do such a thing is if you are so motivated by your love of God that you cannot bear. You feel the pain of how God is getting dissed by this.
Right.
And therefore, you're acting upon that. But if you are trying to punish the person, or if you are motivated by someone that told you this is what you're supposed to do, if someone else told you this is what you're supposed to do, then you don't really feel the pain. You really were manipulated by someone else. Which is why I say nowadays there's no such thing as zealotry, right. Because as soon as there was the internet, no one can be free anymore of these suspected and this manipulation. We presume that everyone was motivated to this cause by someone who said, this is the right thing to do, this is what you need to do, gave a good speech and there's a mosque or whatever it is, go out and do this horrible thing.
And plus...
Therefore, those aren't zealots, they're
not zealots anyway, because the 13-year-old girl that's sleeping in her bed somewhere in Israel is not any problem for you, and you go and kill her, or you go in and drive your truck through in Nice, where a whole bunch of little kids are sitting there, or whatever it happens, or hack up people on the train. Right. Obviously, that's not even close to that zealotry, because these people have nothing to do with any of this.
And again, just to repeat, the insult to God is breaking the covenant. So if you are an Arab guy and you feel it's important to invade a home and to kill the 13-year-old girl while she's sleeping in bed, if that's important to you, that might be, you're just carrying out a war. You're an enemy combatant, but you can't say that you were motivated by your service of God, because the girl doesn't have the covenant.
Well, what about the guy who takes a Arab homosexual and throws him off the end of a building?
Yeah, so maybe, perhaps.
But of course, he was probably told and motivated.
Right. So perhaps. Maybe if he found him doing the act,
woman that he sees driving a car.
Right. So if he found him doing the act and all that, but most likely, and maybe then, but then that would all be internal. That's the big deal. The big deal here is that all of this would be internal. All of these crimes should be, if we want to see acts of zealotry should be perpetrated by a group of people on the same group members who are all part of the same covenant.
Right.
And we don't find that. We
And it
see
doesn't mean zealotry is always good anyway.
Right. That's right. And it could be misplaced zealotry. It could be all up. But nowadays especially, anyone that is motivated by something that someone else told them, something that they read, something that they heard, cannot be called a zealot. Because a zealot's got to feel the pain of God internally. And that's what Pinchas did. And that's why when Pinchas asked Moshe, what should I do? Moshe did not tell him to go run him through. Because had Moshe told him, then he wouldn't do it. Because then you can't do it.
Gotcha. It's there's a lot of rules there.
Yeah. So basically, zealotry, don't try it at home.
Yeah, I think it's his best answer. Leave the zealotry to the professionals.
Right. Zealotry is just do not try this at home. I do not suggest it for anyone under any circumstances in our day and age.
It's probably not a good idea. It's not going to end well.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Might be good for the Bible, but don't try this nowadays.
Today. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Makes sense. Now at least I know the difference.
Okay, good.
Right,
Laws of zealotry,
Laws
101.
of zealotry. Study them. Now we're going to take a little bit of a break now, because it's the summer break. Rabbi Freeman's got a lot of beach trips planned, different things going.
Actually, I'm going off to the Holy Land, God willing, on a fact-finding mission.
Right. It's Jeff and the Rabbi fact-finding mission. So when he
so
comes
I can
back,
report back.
a lot of new stuff.
That's right. Thank God, and the whole, the mission's going to be paid for by the Jeff and the Rabbi production staff.
We're going to check and see what kind of money's left in that account. And we'll take a look. All right, we'll see you in a few weeks.